Good afternoon and welcome to the second of our SADD Chapter Management 101 video series. Today's session is focused on membership recruitment and meeting management. My name is Chris Dzurick and I am the statewide coordinator for Missouri SADD, and we're glad to have you with us today. Yesterday's session is available in recording format, and you're able to watch our session on accessing and utilizing the SADD portal. We encourage you to watch that video prior to this video to make sure that you have a full chapter management experience. And as always, all videos are recorded and available at actmissouri.org/SADD. To kick us off, I'd like to again remind everybody about how we implement change. It's about empowering teens, engaging parents, mobilizing communities, and changing lives. Once you have an established chapter of SADD in your school or community organization, one of the first things that you have to do is recruit members and manage the membership experience. Being a member of SADD means that you have access to all of the programs that are available through our organization. And it's important that those students who are accessing and supporting those programs are all members in your SADD chapter. As a reminder, membership for 2021-2022 is free. So there is no chapter fee or membership fee to be a member of SADD this school year. Building a chapter also helps to ensure that you have diverse backgrounds and expansive ideas that come from students who have gone through all different kinds of walks of life. And that's really helpful in discussion and in creating programs that are comprehensive, equitable, and accessible to all of our students. Membership, though, doesn't need to just be focused on what we kind of anticipate our really strong student leaders are. So often our school organizations are all kind of clamoring over the same couple of students that are those standout leaders that you would know by name. But we also need to make sure that we're including students who have maybe never engaged in a risky behavior before and have been quiet, or maybe those students who are at a greater risk of being exposed to those risky behaviors and need programming from SADD to make sure that they don't engage in those in the future. All of our membership for SADD is managed in our SADD portal. And again, if you didn't catch yesterday's video on accessing and utilizing the SADD portal, we encourage you to go ahead and watch that before going through our membership and meeting management video. We also want to remind everybody that it's not about the size of your chapter, it's about the depth of your programs and the impact that you can have. And while a larger chapter is possibly going to be able to have more programs because of the sheer volume of students, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be more impactful. So make sure you're not judging your SADD chapter based on how many members there are. Maybe you only have 5 or 7 students. That's just as wonderful as having 150 students in your SADD chapter. When it comes to recruiting students to be a part of your SADD chapter, there are thousands of ways that you can do that. But we wanted to share with you some of the ideas that are available in our chapter management handbook, our chapter management guide, that have seen great success in our programs. The first one is Taco Bout SADD, which is an opportunity to host an after-school event with tacos. Invite a local business to maybe sponsor that food, or maybe you can work with a family consumer sciences program to cook the food and provide them with a great curricular experience. And then invite a guest speaker to talk about substance abuse or bullying or mental health or traffic safety, anything that might be pertinent to your students in your school. This is a great way to bring students in and reduce down any barriers to attending maybe a meeting that's on a very specific topic or a project planning meeting that might be intimidating. This can be a very fun, lighthearted event. You can do leadership activities. You can kind of host it as an open house social, and you'll probably find some great success with something very simple like that. You can also look at hosting a fall tailgate. So take advantage of an event that many of your students may already be attending, like a football game after your school, or maybe if you don't have football, a basketball game later on in the season. So you can host that kind of event and you can provide information to students about SADD who arrive. And again, you can work with local businesses to maybe donate some food or snacks. You could do some games like cornhole or something that can just create a really fun opportunity for students to engage in a very safe activity, but also learn more about SADD and maybe join themselves. Finally, you can do a school scavenger hunt or a hidden SAD, similar to the concept of a hidden Mickey at Disney parks. This is where you hide SAD logos all across your school building, and you encourage students to find those SAD logos and return them to the advisor for a small prize. You can invite students who find the logo to then join SAD, and you can even provide clues to students who are maybe looking for those logos if they'll commit to joining SAD, and then they can bring those logos back to you if they do find them, again, for a small prize. Doesn't have to be much. Fun-sized candy bar will do just fine. Maybe take advantage of those after Halloween sales that'll be coming up here. And you can conduct something that really costs hardly anything at all, but can create a fun opportunity that spans the entire building that can have everybody looking for those hidden SAD logos. You can download SAD logos in the SAD portal. So again, if you haven't watched yesterday's video, that's where you'll find all of those logos that you can download and utilize for your SAD chapter. Few additional ideas that you can use for recruitment. You can provide SAD t-shirts to all of your students who are interested in being a part of the organization. If you have the funding or you have a community group that's maybe willing to put a logo on, that can reduce or eliminate that cost completely. You can hand out SAD membership recruitment posters in your school. So maybe there's an opportunity for you to provide those to students through a mailer, or maybe you can provide them at lunch for students who are interested in joining. You can also look at speaking in front of classes at maybe a school-wide assembly, at lunch. If you have school-wide announcements that are maybe announced over a bulletin or emailed to all students, you can advertise that way. And if you have a district-wide mailer, maybe your your school board of education sends a packet to everybody on a regular basis, you can also include information that's directed at parents. If you remember the way that SAD implements change, it's not only about empowering students, but it's also about engaging those adults, those parents. So that's a great way to also make sure that you're looking at the full circle of how SAD implements change. So you now know how to use the SAD portal. You maybe have a few new membership ideas, and now you're heading into that first chapter meeting. So you've got the students and you're ready to go. So let's talk a little bit about meeting management. It is very important for your program to have regularly occurring meetings. If students aren't able to find the value in SAD by engaging with their peers, you might lose those prime students who are ready to make change. Meetings allow students an opportunity to share updates with other student members, to plan programs and how they're going to implement those, or plan events and how they'll manage those events, and then to also provide opportunities to train students on leadership and professional and workplace skills that we know industry is demanding, and student organizations are a great way to learn those skills. When it comes to hosting meetings, you can consider doing those at a school common hour if you have an opportunity for where organizations are permitted to meet, or even before or after school. You should hold meetings as often as you can, but at least once a month. You don't have to overkill it. You don't have to have a weekly meeting. That's certainly not an expectation, but at least once a month provides you an opportunity to share information with your chapter. Something that is also a great opportunity is to host a working meeting during lunch. We've seen great success where chapters do this. They invite their students to go to the lunchroom and get their lunches, and then they actually have a working lunch and they plan and converse over the lunch hour. So it's a great way to not pull students out of the classroom or have students attend meetings before or after school. So it helps, again, reduce those barriers to student access to your program. You can also share meeting information outside of traditional meetings. You don't always have to have a sit-down in-person meeting. And if the pandemic has taught us anything, it's that digital communication is a great way to still stay connected. You can use chapter social media. You can use a chapter email if you have an email distribution list or just a list of all those students. You can share important information that maybe means you don't have to host a meeting quite as often as you thought maybe you did. Not everything has to be a sit-down meeting, and I'm sure you've all been in a meeting before that could have been an email. We can do the same thing with SAD and deliver really valuable content via email. You can even forward Missouri SAD's Monday memos or Traffic Safety Tuesdays to your students, and they can engage directly in those programs, sometimes taking the lead even from you. A couple of different meeting tips for you. Not all meetings have to be long. It's absolutely okay to have a 10 or 15-minute meeting if that lets you get all of your updates in. It's also perfectly fine to have a multi-hour long meeting if you have a lot of project planning going on and maybe committee work and students are creating the things for their upcoming events. You can also look at hosting some meetings via Zoom. We've seen some chapters move their meetings to the evenings, and they're actually conducting them via Zoom or Google Meets and doing them digitally. And that's perfectly fine as well. Again, if it helps reduce barriers to students, just make sure that everyone has access to that they all have a device, they all have internet, so we don't count any students out who want to be involved in our programming. You can also work with committees to help get your work done and make meeting times shorter. You know, a real big association is going to have a lot of committees who are doing a lot of work, and they're going to just report back what they've done, and a board is going to approve it. You can do the same thing with your SADD chapter. Maybe get smaller groups together that can work on specific tasks at hand, and that way they can just report it back in a meeting, and you don't spend 30 or 45 minutes debating something. If you're doing an early meeting, consider having donuts or snacks provided. Food always sells students. I know you all know that, but businesses are probably happy to donate that, especially if you provide an opportunity for them to speak. There are community organizations that would happily buy a dozen or two donuts if that's what it takes to make sure that students are implementing change in their communities. You should also look at providing a calendar for the quarter or the semester with everything on it. Every meeting date, every big project that you're going to do. SADD provides you with a sample calendar for the year in the chapter management guide that's at actmissouri.org/SADD. If you download that, you can put all of those dates on there, and that way students know, parents know, your school knows, you know when everything's going to be so that you can plan accordingly. Everyone likes to know everything as early as possible. You have your entire school calendar with every possible snow day, every board meeting, everything is already on that calendar for you. And I know it's helpful for you. So let's do the same for our students. If you are going to maybe have students who can't attend because of sports or other functions, maybe right after your meetings have happened, get those meeting minutes out to everybody so they all know exactly what happened in the meeting if they missed it, and they can come immediately and ask questions to you the following day. We've also seen some chapters that provide a mini recap meeting for students who were unable to attend the actual true function of the chapter. So maybe you have an after-school meeting on a Monday. Maybe the next Tuesday morning at lunch, you have a little mini recap meeting. So maybe your real meeting on Monday was an hour long. You're going to do a quick 15-minute recap for those students who couldn't be at that meeting. And that way they still get that kind of chapter experience. They still get to sit down with you, sit down with the leaders in your chapter, but they just weren't at that traditional meeting. So those mini recaps can be really helpful to still provide that cohesiveness and that community of a real chapter. We wanted to give you all just a sample agenda of what maybe you might do in a traditional SADD chapter meeting. Again, this is just a sample. You should customize to the needs of your own students and your own community. But a traditional meeting will include a call to order. You'll look at the meeting agenda and accept that, and you'll look at the minutes from the last meeting that were taken, so the notes from the last meeting. You might then conduct a small leadership activity, and we've got lots of those out there. There are so many on the SADD portal I would encourage you to look at to make your chapter meetings more fun and engaging. You might then provide an update on any youth prevention initiatives. So we always share information with you in the Monday memo and Traffic Safety Tuesday. Make sure you're sharing that information with your students in their meetings. If you have any action items like approving any conferences you want to go to or events or programs, you'd then work on those elements, any announcements, and then you would adjourn from the meeting. To help you with your meeting agenda, we wanted to share a couple of tips with you. You can use the SADD communications calendar to outline what you might need to be talking about in that meeting. That's available on the ACT Missouri SADD site as well as the National SADD portal. You can use the SADDopoly guide or game board at each of your meetings to kind of talk about what is coming up in any given quarter. If you haven't attended any of our SADDopoly trainings, follows a traditional Monopoly board style. Each side of the board is a quarter of the school year. So if you're wondering, what should we do next quarter? you can use that game board and you can see different activities that might be date specific or just fit kind of the time, a prom or graduation activity. We're going to focus on some alcohol awareness maybe in quarter 4, whereas quarter 2, maybe we're going to talk more about mental health. You can use that game board as a guide for what you should be talking about in your SADD chapters. You can also look at the Power Startup packet, which is in the SADD portal, for ideas to, again, make your meetings a little bit more fun, how to add some activities and programs and leadership enrichment programming. Want to thank you all for joining us for this Chapter Management 101 video on membership management and meeting management. I'm going to remind you all, contact information is available on this slide. So if there's ever anything that we can do for you, you're always able to contact us, and we're happy to help you build a happy, healthy community through SADD. Thank you all, and have a wonderful rest of your day.